It's my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Levi Greenacres.
So in 1995, I was just about to turn 18, and unlike a lot of people, when they turn 18, there's a few things you get to look forward to. Buying a pack of cigarettes, if you're responsible, like getting a credit card or a bank account, buying a lottery ticket, that kind of stuff. What I was excited about was I could finally run a personal ad in my local weekly paper. Because, and this is exciting for two reasons for me. One, I'm 17 years old, just about to turn 18, and I'm, I've only dated one person, and that for 3 months, which totally broke my heart. So, in addition to that, I'm horny as a 10-peckered owl. And also, I haven't, at that age, I haven't been published anywhere, but I have literary aspirations. And, so besides like my high school creative arts magazine thing, I've never seen anything that I've written in print. So I get to maybe have something in print for the first time in a big city. And as it says in the paper, they don't take everything that they don't take all the ads. So you have to write a really good one. And so for 2 months before my birthday, I'm doing my recon. Like, what are these people talking about? Like, how are they expressing themselves to, meet other people? So, and they all seem kind of bland. And I'm determined to make a really good impression. And I've got this really specific idea of like who I want to meet. And I want them to know right away that I'm a little bit different. So I come up with this ad. And it says, existential art student, 18, kitchen druid, seeks cowgirl for wrestling and starting a blues band. Usual no's. To this day, I don't actually know what the usual no's are, but I had seen it so often in print that I figured, well, maybe that will lend me some credibility. Obviously, I don't want the usual things. So you write all the things down and you put it in the mail and then you wait to see if you've been accepted for publication. So I wait 5 weeks and 5 days and then I get, I'm checking the mailbox every day and finally it comes like your ad's going to be in our paper. It's going to be another week and a half. And I'm counting the days and thinking about like, who am I going to meet? Somebody. And so you call this number once your ad is accepted and you leave a voice message and then someone has to call a 900 number to leave you a message if they're interested, and sort of before internet dating is the thing. So you wait and you work for it. Surprising to nobody except for me, nobody called that ad once it appeared in the paper. And your voice mailbox is active for 2 weeks. One, the week that it's in the actual paper, and then another week just in case somebody finds an old copy and is like, existential art student, awesome. Let me call that guy. So I go to school and I work full time and I go to school full time. So I work at a hamburger place and I smell like pickles and desperation. That's it. So I'm looking pretty mopey apparently. And this lady that was in a class of mine, she's about 30 and kind of like your scrappy aunt from the Bronx. She's like, what the hell's the matter with you? Why are you so down today? And I'm like, well, I did this personal ad and nobody called it. And she's like, really? Well, what did it say? And so I tell her. And what I'm expecting is her to say, oh, buddy, like, those women are crazy, of course. Who doesn't want that? She did the more predictable thing and laughed. Didn't make me feel any better. So she's like, if you think this is a good idea for you, like, let me help you out with that. So she's like, it's good. You mentioned you're a creative person. Let's not call yourself an existential art student. And not that you're a kitchen druid. Say that you're employed because that's desirable. I did that. And maybe if you get a call, like, and you show up on a date, like, take a shower. That would help. And between working full time and going to school full time, like, I had 4 hours a day about to do homework, masturbate, sleep, shower, and usually the way it worked on most days was that I would get right to the masturbating and sleeping, and the homework and the showering kind of didn't work out so well. I go through the whole process again of writing the thing, and it just says, I'm creative and I have a job, and here's a book that I like, and here's a band that I like, and that's that. So I don't really hold any high hopes. I've already been kind of crushed by this once before, but to my surprise, once I get the acceptance letter and like it's so great and it's going to be in print, and I leave the voice message, and it's pretty boring too. Also, I didn't say how old I was in the ad, which was the good advice of my friend. So that resulted in getting me 3 dates. The first date was with a lady who told me that she looked like Valerie Bertinelli, and she was much older than me, and that ended in frustration for me. The second date I went on was a lady who was closer to my age, and she was also a college student, going to school for something pretty square. And over dinner, she tells me she's a young Republican, which I feel like that's good. That's a first date conversation for me, but you should mention that before I actually meet you. I go home a second time frustrated and alone. So then I got another call that led to a more interesting date. And this lady calls me up, and we're talking on the phone. And she says, well, how old are you? And I said, well, I'm 18. And she laughs. And I said, well, I don't know what's funny about that. She's like, I'm a little bit older than you. I go, oh, okay, well, how old are you? And she's like, well, I'm not going to tell you unless it becomes important. So, okay. She's like, but you are really young. And so I did what any 18-year-old might do, trying to show off that he's a classy guy. I begged. I said, I'm really mature for my age. And she's like, yeah, I bet. So let's go meet at this bookstore that had a cafe in it. And I've only been in the town for a couple of months. I don't know my way around. It takes me about 20 minutes to get to this place on the bus. And it's an occult bookstore. And so I meet this lady, and she, her name sounds like something you'd order that's really spicy at an Indian restaurant, but she's a white lady, and I don't care because she's there, and she doesn't have 2 heads, and she seems nice enough. And there's a couple of indicators, like she looks about 30, and there's a couple of indicators that maybe she's a little bit older, like she sips her tea, and she swishes it around, kind of like after you brush your teeth. And you got something in the back. And she's also wearing what is supposed to, I'm pretty sure, supposed to be a stylish jacket, but it's kind of quilted and long, a little bit sad, but again, it's what's underneath that coat that I'm real concerned with. So she talks to me a little bit, and she says, you know, there's a dungeon in the basement of this place. And I don't know what that is, like, do I roll dice to get in, or... No, you don't. So we don't really have anything in common. So at the end of the date, she's like, okay, well, you're nice and it's been great, but I'm going to take you home. I'm like, cool, I don't have to ride the bus. So we get in her car, and we're driving. And again, it only took me 20 minutes to get there on a bus, but I notice about 20 minutes goes by, and I don't know where I am. So I know, like, where my job is, where this bookstore is, kind of, and school, but that's it. And we're start on this dark road that looks kind of like an old trashy part of Las Vegas, which I learned later is like where you go to get inexpensive oral sex, anonymously. So I'm like, where are we? I don't feel like we're in my neighborhood. She's like, no, I decided I'm going to take you home after all. My thought is, well, were you going to ask me, or... am I maybe going to end up in a shallow grave, or are we going to skip the sex and go straight to murder? I would prefer it if we could at least get the sex in first. And then she starts asking me all these really weird, dirty questions, like, are you kinky? What do you think about when you masturbate? And I'm like, wait, before I answer any of that, like, how old are you actually? And she says, oh, well, I'm 55. And I'm a witch. Like, those 2 facts came right back to back, and so I thought, oh, well, maybe you made a deal with the devil, you're a witch. I'm very naive about what a witch is, like maybe you do yoga and eat right. As long as I can get some sex in there, like, you do whatever you want on your own time. So she keeps up with the awkward questions, and we finally get to her house, and it's close to nothing. It's country dark out there, and if I have to jump out of a window naked, which I'm prepared to do, preferably after I get laid, then I couldn't flag down a car. There's nothing. I couldn't describe to a policeman where I am. And nobody knows where I am, so it's a little weird. We get to her house. She takes me inside, and she has a large bed with some kind of shriny ornaments around it. And I didn't understand them then, and I couldn't describe them now, but there was a lot of stuff going on, and it looked like an awesome place to either get laid or have some really intricate witch murder happen. She sits me so that my back is against the wall and my legs are out in front of me, and she says, by day, I'm a massage therapist. So you seem a little nervous, and like, "Meh, maybe." So let me loosen you up. So she's rubbing on my shoulders, and that's going pretty well, and then rubbing up my neck, and that's going well, and she kind of takes my head, like your mom does when she's like, "You blew it. Let me explain why." What she says instead is, "So I'm gonna need you to trust me." Why start now? But okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a deep breath in, and as you're exhaling, I need you to wiggle your toes. Like, is this foreplay? Whatever. Let's find out. So I take a deep breath in, I wiggle my toes and breathe out, and she takes my head and snaps it really fast to one side. And what I experience in that moment is I feel, starting from pretty low in my back, my vertebrae begin to pop like in rapid machine gun succession, and then when it gets to the base of my skull, it cracks really loud, and I see fireworks. And I have about a second and a half to think, oh, am I dead? Because if I was going to write a movie about somebody that, like, witch murdered somebody, that's a cool way to kill them. They think they're getting laid, and what they get is, like, fireworks and ritual death. And so she turns my head back to face her, and she says, that's the blah blah maneuver. Like, that's really weird. I think if you're going to do that, you should give someone a warning. Possibly a description. She's like, well, it increases the mobility of your neck, and so I'm going to do the other side. So I'm like, why not? I lived through it the first time, and so she does it again. I do the breath, I do the exhale, the toe, and then wham! And then she's like, all right, well, and she, let me go, and she's like, try moving your head around. So and I could move my head so much farther than normal. It was like I was an owl or that kid from The Exorcist. And that was cool. So finally, she gets off my lap, and it's like, all right, now let's do some stuff. So we make out, and she shows me an impressive collection of rubber and leather and metal and her teeth and the backside of her hand, and then took me home. And so that was great. I felt lucky to be alive, and I finally got laid. And when I arrived home, I just kind of sat in the dark, a little bit rougher for the ride, and made a solemn vow never to write another personal ad again. Thank you.